And here we are, as I promised you. I've brought to you one of the best Twilight Struggle players currently playing the game in my whole country of Greece. It's Jimaros, Jim the Big. I guess it is obvious who will play the Soviets and who will play the Americans in this game. Much blood will be spilled. I expect a very exciting game. Many governments will turn socialist, much red scare is going to be felt, but at the same time, much unrest will be spread into Eastern Europe. So, Jimaros, are you ready?
Thank you for the invitation, George. I'm glad that I have the chance to play with you, finally.
Okay, this will go viral, I promise you.
Yeah.
Let's go! So, this is our starting hand as the US player. It's a pretty decent hand if you ask me. We've got Marshall Plan, which might be a very good headline. But to be honest, while I love playing with Marshall Plan first, I kinda hate it because if he plays Red Scare, then I've got no counterplay for his blockade. So maybe another alternative would be to start with NORAD. I think that's what I shall do. I will headline NORAD. Fidel, I like playing it early because it gives the Soviet a battleground outside Europe, Asia and Middle East, so he will have problems if he is holding CIA. And we have to also find a way to get rid of Suez. I may combine it with the UN intervention to discard it, or I may space race it. Anything is possible. So let's go for a NORAD start. I will place some influence in Europe and much on Canada because I need influence in Canada for NORAD to take effect. And let's hope for the best. Now it's time to call back our terrible Soviet opponent. So we're starting with the setup. We are playing the usual US +2 variant, which means the US player is going to place an additional 2 influence besides the one usually given to him by the setup. So Soviet player goes first. Place your influence, please.
So I'll put one in East Germany.
Makes sense, much sense.
Yeah, the other 4 will go to Poland.
Poland.
And my last one will go to
Yugoslavia. Oh, yeah. I know it's usually Yugoslavia or Austria. I personally prefer Austria, but I am okay with Yugoslavia as well. So it's my turn, and I've got the 7 influence in Western Europe plus the 2 I'm given by the variant. So definitely 4 will go to West Germany to control this battleground. And then we've got 3 in Italy, so this concludes our standard 7. And now we've got the +2, which I may allocate in countries where I already have influence. And okay, this will probably be 1 in Iran. Or no, scratch it. I'm not gonna place it in Iran. I shall place 1 more in UK and 1 more in Canada, as unorthodox as it may sound to surprise our experienced opponent. And ready to go. Going for the headline. So my headline is going to be this one. There we go, NORAD. And the Red Scare, yeah, the one card I was afraid of. So, we are in real trouble from the get-go, but we shall be able to manage, I hope. So, NORAD stays in effect, and I'm looking for the appropriate marker. And besides that, Red Scare is also in effect, which reduces my card operation value for the rest of the turn. So this is the one marker that I am apparently missing. Missing, anyway, doesn't matter. This one cute marker will be NORAD, which means from now on, whenever DEFCON moves to the 2 box at the end of an action round. I place 1 influence in a country that I already had of influence if I control Canada, otherwise it's of no effect. So, Soviet action round 1.
I play Olympic Games and I make a coup in
Iran. You coup Iran. Okay, so we've got our first coup, and at this stage I've got to introduce you our latest technology model designed by GMT Games especially for this game, which allows our viewers to clearly view the results of our dice rolls. So we've got a 3, which means it is barely able to overthrow Iran and empty it of US influence, plus you're getting 2 military ops, and DEFCON drops to 4, and this marker is placed on Europe. So, US action round number 1. What exactly are we going to do with this hand is the question. I'm playing Suez Crisis, and I will place 1 influence in Jordan and 1 influence in Canada. So 3 goes to 4, so that NORAD is in effect. And now it's time for the Soviet player to apply this event. Unfortunately, I don't have a 3rd influence to place because of red scare.
So I'll remove the 1 from Israel and 2 from
UK, United
so
Kingdom.
So
4. It goes down to 4.
Yes.
So back to Soviet action round number 2. And this is removed from the game. This was the whole plan.
So I'll play special relationships.
Yeah, I was afraid of that. I had to place 1 more influence in UK. Yeah. Anyway.
And I'll put 2 influences.
This way. In Iran.
In Iraq.
Iraq, okay. So normally this card has the effect that if US is controlling UK, they may place 1 influence adjacent, but in this case our 1 influence is removed. So we are not in control of UK anymore. So that's our turn again. We've got some problems in the Middle East already from the get-go, so we might like to fix it. One way to possibly fix it, though an unorthodox one, I would like to coup with Truman Doctrine, so I will coup Iraq. Okay, my dice roll is 5, so it's not enough to overthrow Iraq, which has got a defense of 6. So Truman Doctrine event is not applied, so it goes to the discard pile, and DEFCON drops down to 3, and I earn 1 military point. And back to the Soviet action round.
I'll play Defectors.
Okay, first of all, because Defectors is played during a Soviet action round, I gain 1 victory point, and afterwards you may play your operations.
Yeah, and I'll put 2 influence to Afghanistan.
So what just happened is that because DEFCON dropped down to 3, coups and realignments are no longer possible in Asia until it is fixed. So now he's got the liberty of placing influence in Afghanistan and gradually expanding his influence over the Asian region. And we might have to find a way to fix that as well. I think our opponent is not going to give us the final coup anywhere to drop the DEFCON down to 2. So maybe we have to do it ourselves. But till then, let's use some Fidel. So Fidel means the Soviet player gains sufficient influence in Cuba for control. In this case, he gains 3 influence and he controls Cuba. And now I may play my operations, which is again reduced. It's reduced to 1, and Fidel goes out of the game. And with my 1 operation point, I will place 1 influence in Malaysia, because as we have mentioned, Asia is now a safe region to expand. And moving on to Soviet round 4. Yeah, decolonization again. one of the ugliest Soviet cards that I was afraid of.
One in Thailand, one in Algeria, one in Indonesia. And I have another one, the last one.
This is not discarded, this will go back into the deck in turn 3. South Africa. Okay, so he's gaining some access to Thailand, which is a battleground, and all the Southeast Asian important countries. And also by placing some influence in Algeria, he gains access to France, which he previously had no access to. So just one more problem to fix now. How would we fix that, you ask? I'd answer you that the best course of action would be, in our 4th action round, to use Indo-Pakistani War for a coup. And it's time to coup Algeria. Unfortunately, our operation value is 1, so I need a 4 or more to overthrow Algeria. So, let's go. A 3 is barely not enough. So, the DEFCON goes down to 2. And it's time for NORAD to take effect, but not before we place this beautiful marker in Middle East. And now I'm about to increase my influence in one country. It's not like I have a whole lot of good options, but maybe Jordan is the one who saves the day for America, who knows. So yeah, Jordan it will be. We are now controlling a Middle Eastern country, so we can avoid the worst effects of a Middle Eastern scoring. And we are moving on to action round 5. Only 3 cards in each player's hands, so choices are limited now.
So, I have to give Japan.
Oh, glad to receive that.
No.
So, as for the event, the American player earns control of Japan, which means 4 influence, and this card is getting out of the deck, removed.
Do you want it here, there, or here?
Yeah, this is I think the most useless marker could ever be, because nobody would ever coup or realign Japan, but just so you know, from now on the Soviet player cannot realign or coup Japan. Anyway, now the Soviet player will conduct 4 operations.
So, make Thailand 2.
That's just 1.
1 for now.
Yeah, now we've got problems in both Asia and Middle East, but early game is hard, we expected that. The Soviet onslaught is coming to us.
1 to South Korea.
Now the tricky part in this is that I cannot really contest South Korea because before the Korean War is played, because it's too dangerous to place excessive influence and possibly losing it to some Korean War. So 1 in Lebanon to get the Middle Eastern domination as well.
And the last one will go to France.
Yeah, France is a pain, I have to admit. So, our second to last action, in action round 5,
yes,
would be to... Okay, we can't help but play East European unrest, not for the event, though the event is pretty tempting, to be honest. But I will play it to place 2 influence, 2 because of the Red Scare again. And I shall place 2 influence in France. And back to the Soviet player for his final action round.
It's Europe scoring.
Okay. I was afraid of something much more impactful, but
I didn't have I didn't expect actually this
turn of events.
Yeah.
Okay. So Europe scoring. So for our viewers, again, we have to calculate the battlegrounds. Europe has got 5 battlegrounds total. The Soviet player is controlling the 2 eastern ones. The US player is controlling West Germany and Italy. And France is uncontrolled. So we are tied 2-2. There is no adjacent country controlled by the US player or vice versa. So we are tied, no points gained for either side. And it's my last action round now. Now I have to confess to my opponent I was really afraid of blockade, so I kept the Marshall Plan till the end. I didn't even headline that because I was afraid of Red Scare and blockade. So now it's time for the event to take place. I shall place Marshall Plan because we have to gain some momentum. This card is removed from the deck, and now the play of NATO is allowed if it comes out. So 7 countries in Europe uncontrolled by the USSR. I have to play some influence. Of course, one would be France. The second one would be Italy. The 3 next ones would be the Mediterranean countries, I guess, Greece, Spain and Turkey. We've got 2 more to place. One would be West Germany. And the last one, actually, I'm not really sure, but I think I have to take back UK in case special relationship appears again in the future. So that's it. Turn 1 has come to an end. We've got some steps to follow. Of course, nobody among us is holding a scoring card. We check the military operation status, and we both have covered the requirements, which is 2 military ops. And the China card remains with the Soviet player, of course. Nobody has placed space. Turn marker is advanced to turn 2, and action round goes back to 1. And now DEFCON status is increased back to 3, and our military ops go back to 0. And we're ready to deal cards again. Okay, so that's our hand for turn 2. I can't say I'm much excited. Reason being the Asia scoring. I would really hope that it comes in turn 3, because now it will come both in this turn and from turn 3 onwards after the reshuffle. So we've got serious problems in Asia, because he's controlling 2 battlegrounds. We're controlling pretty much none. So he's got more countries than us, and he's got the non-battleground country of Afghanistan. So he has secured like a 5 VP lead. Excuse me again, we are controlling Japan, so we've got 1 battleground. So in which way would we fix this, you ask? Well, I think one way would be to reclaim South Korea, but even if we do that, he will immediately suspect we've got Asia scoring, and he will go to Pakistan directly. So one way would be to just concede Asia and throw it down in the headline. One reason I would like to headline Asia is also because I'm afraid of Cambridge 5. If he headlines Cambridge 5, he can check my hand for scoring cards, and he can place 1 influence in Asia if I am holding the Asia scoring. So most logical solution would be to headline Asia scoring and give up 6 victory points. Now we've got Nasser, which I'm again not sure how to handle, because we've got problems in Middle East as well. But okay, this might help us coup Egypt and drop the DEFCON back to 2 for NORAD to take effect. Yeah, now that I think about it, maybe I could place some influence in Thailand if he leaves me such a chance, but I doubt that's the case. Another way would be to UN intervention the Nasser. And also we've got to still worry about blockade, so we've got to keep the goal until our very last action rounds, in case we have to discard it for his blockade. And there's also the issue of Vietnam revolts, which normally I would like to play it as the last card, but again, we have to keep hold of the goal. So probably it will be a miserable round with many victory points lost. I just hope he doesn't have Middle East scoring as well. One last issue is that even if I go to reclaim Israel by playing NATO for influence to even the Middle East situation, he has not yet played the Israeli war, so maybe we lose Israel even despite all that. So with that being said, it's time to call back our loathsome Soviet opponent.
Okay.
Asia scoring and Middle East scoring. Okay, Yeah, now I realize I made some kind of mistake. I might be able to fix Asia using NORAD, but anyways, that's what I opted to do. I'm giving up 5 points in Asia because he is controlling one more battleground than me, plus totally more countries than me, and a non-battleground country. So he's got domination, I've got present, difference is 4, plus one more battleground than me means 1, so it's a total of 5. So from 1 in favor of the US, it goes to 4 in favor of the Soviets. And then we've also got the Middle Eastern domination, which means I've got presence with just controlling Jordan. He's got domination because he's controlling one more battleground in the name of Iraq, plus one non-battleground country. Total number of countries is 2 to 1. So domination minus presence makes 2. And okay, for the one more battleground, it's 1 more point, a total of 3. So from 4 victory points for the Soviets, it goes down to 7. And we're going towards the Soviet first action round.
So I'll make a coup with
Comecon.
I'll coup Panama.
Okay, so this is the only battleground I am still holding in countries that are in range of DEFCON. So I'm coup on Panama. DEFCON will drop again to 2, and I will gain, he will gain 3 military operation points, and again Middle East is inaccessible to coup. His roll is a 2, which is barely enough to remove my 1 influence from Panama, because it's 3 operation plus 2 means 5. Our difference is 2 times 2, 4, so this difference is subtracted from my influence. Now, because it's an action round, I will place some influence somewhere I already have 1, thanks to NORAD. I wonder why. The most logical solution would be France, because of its battleground nature. So yeah, I will secure France, at least for now. And now it's my action round 1. I think it would make much sense playing the 5-year plan for operations, because I want to start expanding on the map a little bit, slowly crawling. So Thailand it is, 1 influence which costs 2 operation value because of the Soviet control, plus 1 more point remaining for Angola, because Africa is important too. And 5-year plan, it goes to the discard pile, and Soviet action round 2. The Cambridge 5.
Operation, of course.
Yeah, I was afraid you would headline it, that's why I played Asia scoring first. Anyway.
Yeah, it was one of my thoughts, but
Yeah.
Europe was out, so I would prefer not. I'll go with one in
Cambodia.
yes,
And,
and the other one I will take back Thailand.
Yeah, okay, he is reclaiming Thailand, makes much sense. He wants to keep the Asia domination and score many victory points. By the way, I've made a mistake in the setup. I've got 1 influence in Philippines, not like it would have changed much until that point. So I hate doing that, but I will try to go to the space using Vietnam revolts. I hate playing to the space early, but I think at this point I need to some victory points as soon as possible. It's a 50% chance. I need to roll a 1, 2, 3 to reach the first space of the space race. And I'm unlucky. So nothing happens, and we are next to Soviet action round 3.
I'll go with Arab-Israeli war, not for the event, of course. And I'll take Algeria with one operation, and the other one will go to South Korea.
Yeah, South Korea is in danger. So this might be one of our very last chances of reclaiming South Korea and taking a huge gamble in order to turn things out in Asia. So I will play NATO for operations, and I will try to secure South Korea. I've got 1 influence point with 4 more, I take it up to 5, which is enough for South Korean control, although we all know that the Korean War is still inside the deck. So we'll have to get lucky with that. So Soviet action round 4. De-Stalinization. Okay, so we've got all the ugly cards against us.
Yeah,
so
for my first show.
so
One will go out from Finland, Yugoslavia.
So he removes up to 4 of his influence and allocates it somewhere else. This might give him access to some countries he would otherwise have no access to. Poland and okay, so Poland is dropped down
and
to
South
3.
Africa.
Okay, that will surprise.
And I put in
Zaire.
Zaire,
So these blocks are way forward to North Africa.
Venezuela, Chile, and the last one will go to Nigeria.
Okay, so the Stalinization goes out of the deck forever. And now what just happened is he has put a strong foothold in South America, because let's do some geography lessons. South America consists of 4 battlegrounds: Venezuela, Brazil, Chile, and Argentina. And now he is adjacent to all of these countries, and he might easily secure South America control, which results in 8 or 10 victory points. So what can we do about that? My thought is I play CIA for the operations value, and I will try realigning one of the 2 countries in South America. And okay, I guess this would be Chile. So I will make one realignment attempt. Now, as I have mentioned in the tutorial video, he's got a modifier of 1 in his favor, because he has more influence currently in the target country than me. So we both roll the die. Let's go, America. Again, okay, let's count that as a 4. Okay, it's a 6, so nothing happens, no influence is removed. And next, going to Soviet round number 5.
Independent Reds.
Yeah, that was his combo. So let me explain a bit before he proceeds. Up to until now, he had 1 influence in Yugoslavia, and Independent Reds as an event would allow me to equalize this influence, place 1 influence of mine. But now, thanks to De-Stalinization, he removed his 1 influence from Yugoslavia. So now Independent Reds as an event is removed without effect. I have no country to match his influence. So you can play 2 operations.
1 in Brazil and 1 in Argentina.
Okay, so he's going for the aforementioned plan of South America control, which is getting really close. And it's US action round number 5. Desperate times require desperate measures. So I will have to play Nasser, that's for sure, which means once an event to influence is placed in Egypt, which is sufficient for Soviet control. So one more country to worry about. I will possibly be placing 1 influence, I wonder where. One option would be possibly Israel, why not? And I think I'll go with that, otherwise we're in danger of being entirely kicked out of the Middle East, and this card goes to the removed. And the last action round for the Soviets, action round number 6.
Korean War for the Ops.
Okay, my heart broke for a moment, but it came back.
No,
we will keep South Korea.
I don't like rolling the dice so much.
Then you could try another game, I guess, but
yeah.
Okay. So Thailand 1 more to secure it, to overprotect it.
Yes, and the other one will go to...
So Korean War unfortunately is not removed from the game yet, it will be reshuffled. And the other operation point will go to Syria.
Here in order to prevent a break.
Okay. Yeah, otherwise if he controlled only 1 non-battleground country, I could possibly play some influence.
It's a common mistake that I'm doing all the time.
Okay.
Like all the time.
So, Now we've got a limited number of options. So my option would be to play the goal, and I shall allow the event to happen first, which means he gains one more influence and I lose 2 influence. And then I shall be fixing it right back by placing 3 influence and making it 5 for the US again. And let's hope for a really good draw for the next turn. So I will also have to suffer a 2 victory points penalty at the end of the round for not being able to fulfill the required military operations. So I'm going to minus 9 points. And okay, we are again eligible to play space cards. The Defcon status goes up to 3, military ops is reset, so this marker is removed from the middle list for a little while because I'm sure it will go back pretty soon. Yeah, okay, action rounds reset to 1 and turn goes to 3. Now we are dealing the last remaining cards of the early war.